let's talk offensive storylines here now as we look ahead into fall camp. I want to hit on the quarterbacks briefly because obviously we know Jeff Sims is the guy, but Matt Rule did say he's very comfortable with both backups. I did find it interesting. We did catch some pictures and video of Heinrich Haarberg catching passes this week. What did you guys make of that?
Gadget guy. I mean, I like that. He's a great athlete. I think they got to find ways to use him. And if it's quarterback, running back, receiver, tight end, fullback, whatever it may be, find ways to get him on the field. Get your best athletes on the field. So we'll see if they actually use it, but it's intriguing.
Where'd that video come from?
I think Channel 3 got it.
Oh boy, yeah, I think it come from Nebraska.
We have a picture.
Oh really?
I mean, it was in the open period.
Yeah,
like there was a picture of him catching a pass.
Yeah, I think I would not have him catching passes if I were the coach with the media there.
Oh yeah,
I wouldn't. I mean,
you could surprise it's something for PJ to think about. How about that?
Yeah, well, that's a good way to put it.
There you go. Matt Rule is a calculated dude.
Look at that Haas, though. I mean, look at the size of this kid.
Yeah, he's a beast. He is a beast.
I mean, that is Planet Fitness Steve Sipple.
He could carry the boats.
That's kettlebell Sipple right there.
That's just full-fledged,
like 1985. All right. The other part of this, the other part of this conversation is Chubba Purdy, who according to Rule has made massive improvement. Massive. Okay, what's that look like?
Oh.
Well, massive improvement look
like? I guess compare it to what Matt Rule has seen in person, which is very limited action in the spring. So inherently, you would hope that he's making a much bigger impression in the fall, now healthy with a full summer of conditioning under him. But it's certainly notable because I think there was a point where Chubba was kind of the odd man out in that 3 QB discussion. Now it seems like he's the front runner to be the number 2, especially with them tinkering around with different ways to use Haarberg. That leads me to believe that Chubba, as of taping time, is the guy as the number 2 quarterback.
I agree. I agree. If you have a quarterback catching passes in practice, let's put it this way: if I'm Chubb, I feel pretty good that I'm not catching passes in practice.
No doubt,
right?
No doubt.
Now, what I've always said about this, and say whatever you want, I've never been a huge fan of that sort of thing because all it does is take away reps at quarterback where he's got to get better. So I don't know, but I'm not criticizing that. I'm not necessarily being critical in this case because I don't know how often it's happened.
Yeah, the clip was from one individual,
right?
Over the course of the entire fall camp that we saw. So who knows?
Generally speaking, I'm not a big fan of quarterbacks playing other positions.
And again, I would not put it past Rule that if that was like just some, hey PJ, check this out.
It worked for Luke McCaffrey.
It worked really well for McCaffrey.
What's really funny about Luke McCaffrey is now he's like regarded as like a legit NFL draft pick receiver.
Right.
But God, around here when who suggested it was like, people they weren't on board. So that whole thing, I mean,
we don't need to relitigate that situation.
It was a mess when you go back to that. But running back wise, I'm intrigued by this room too, guys, because Gabe Ervin, I think, gets the first carry at Minnesota. But I think we know what Anthony Grant can do. I think he's limited on a few things that they need, as far as pass protection or plays or whatever those things are.
Yep.
But Ramir Johnson's coming. He had a great scrimmage, had a long touchdown run. Emmett Johnson is coming. How about the Johnson & Johnson boys back there?
Yeah, I think it's become clear. I mean, it's really become clear that Anthony Grant, it's not about his ability to carry the ball. We all know he can do that. It's probably pass protection more than anything. I thought it was illuminating what Rule said Tuesday, about that he's been taking more snaps with the ones now. Mm-hmm. So there's competition there.
Well, I think another layer to that is that not only is Anthony playing well on the field, he's doing the right things off the field. I mean, keep in mind, he was suspended in March because he, kind of the same deal where he wasn't doing anything bad, but he needed to focus on his academics and other things, according to Rule. And so Rule, when he talked about Anthony Grant, he's being where he's supposed to be. He's showing up on time. He's doing the things that you're supposed to be doing at this level of football. So I think that if that part of it clicks, I mean, his role is only going to continue to flourish. And you see that now with him getting more reps with the ones. To have a two-headed monster, I think, is critical. And then you supplement that with Ramir or Emmett, whoever it may be. You can make a strong case that maybe after the potential of tight end, the potential of that running back room is as high as any on the offense.
Yeah.
You're listening here to the Husker Online show as we talk fall camp offensive storylines here to watch. I want to hit on a receiver because I do think Alex Bullock and Ty Hahn are getting their stock, their positions getting bigger by the day. I mean, guys, I wouldn't be surprised if Alex Bullock's put on scholarship at the semester. I mean, if they have an available one to give because of Xavier Betts and Miles Farmer, I mean, the praise that this kid has gotten from Creighton Prep. I mean, Thomas Fedoni went as far as saying that he's one of the best route runners and receivers they have on the team.
No, he said he's one of the best route runner receivers he's ever seen. He said he's one of the best I've ever seen.
As you would say, hello.
Yeah, as I would say, were you there for the Ohio State?
I was going to
game
say, did you watch Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Jackson Smith the Jigba taking like
ever hear that
stick
Olave? But Sean, I think you're right. He's a guy that he probably should be on scholarship. Actually, Bullock is going to play a lot. Hahn's probably going to play. That's not recent. That's not really a recent development either. If you go back to spring, they talked a lot. Rule and his staff talked a lot about Alex Bullock, a little less about Hahn. But yeah, those guys are very prominent right now.
Yeah. And again, I know that there's certain fans that don't like to hear it, but if you got a guy that earns it, play him, especially if he's a veteran guy that you can trust. I mean, you need guys like that. He might not be the game-changing Trey Palmer type player, but he can move the sticks and be an invaluable part of that receiver rotation.
Now, let's get on the offensive line because I do want to hit on that as we wrap up offensive storylines. Teddy Prohaska, you get the impression he could come back sooner rather than later, but is he going to be ready to go? I mean, that's the question, because the last thing you want is him out there not ready in a game like this against Minnesota. And I'll use the example of 2021. Turner Corcoran was battling his injury, and they started Brant Banks. It didn't go well. And then they put an injured Turner Corcoran in that game.
What game was that?
The opener, 2021 opener.
Okay, the opener.
And Corcoran it wasn't a great.
Oh, against Illinois.
It wasn't a great start for either.
Yeah,
and
against Illinois.
Corcoran, I felt like, has never really recovered from that. I
totally agree.
It just, I think that injury in the beginning of 2021, he hasn't been the same player.
Totally agree. Then they went to Oklahoma. He wasn't ready for that. They went to Oklahoma in 2021, if I'm
right.
Yeah, and I don't think he was ready for that at all. So yeah,
Nico Benito or whatever that guy's name was.
Yeah, Nick Benito. Now listen, Corcoran's the left tackle if they're playing today.
Yeah, he's been the number one left tackle all off.
And Rule said that more.
And interestingly, too, Gunnar Gatula, the true freshman, number 2. So Gatula, that's a feather in his cap for sure, and it tells you that he's got a future here. If he's already, granted, he'd probably be 3 with Prohaska, but he's already in position to play. That's pretty good.
I thought it was notable too that Matt Rule said with Teddy, they're not going to bring him back a day too early.
Right.
They're going to bring him back a day too late, if anything. So they are being overly cautious, and they should be. I mean, this is a guy that has back-to-back significant season-ending injuries. They got to make sure he's right and avoid yet another setback. And I think they did the same thing with Thomas Fedoni, where he was chomping at the bit to get on the field, and they wouldn't let him because you know what? We're not going to put you out there until you are 100% cleared. We don't want to deal with this again.
Remember last August when we saw him running the steps and doing lateral drills, and you thought, it looks like he's ready right now. That was last August.
He was adamantly telling everyone he was ready right then.
Right.
But they have a schedule, and they stuck to it, and I imagine to do the same thing with Teddy.